Regular meeting number 65 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem.
Good and gracious God, with heavy hearts, confused minds, and deep-seated emotions, we struggle to implore you in the aftermath of last Friday's senseless carnage in Newtown, Connecticut. We pray to remain present to the families and friends affected by this terrible tragedy, so that the power of evil does not separate us from one another, nor from you, but only serves to further unite us. May the holy innocents be gathered into your loving arms, as well as the martyrs who defended them. May we go forth with a greater resolve to reduce the access to violent means and accessories that dehumanize the dignity of human life, so to strengthen a culture of life and not of death. We congratulate a well-respected public servant who is a beacon of light to the city health department and is now retiring, John Tolbert. We are grateful for his contributions to the welfare of the city and pray that the state of retirement is a means of enrichment in his life. We also honor two businesses who have been a beacon of light in the Columbus community for generations, State Auto Insurance and Schettinger Funeral Services. May they continue to grow and prosper. We pray for the members of City Council as they convene for the last meeting this year. We are grateful for all that has been accomplished and look forward to a brighter future. May this meeting begin with your inspiration and be sustained by your wisdom and guidance to bring matters to successful resolution. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal?
So move.
Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
This week's communications received by the City Clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Are there any resolutions or announcements from members of council? Councilmember Craig.
Thank you, President Ginther. I do have one announcement this evening. The combined charitable campaign, I want to express a huge thanks to all city employees who have pledged towards the 2012 combined charitable campaign. If you have not yet submitted your pledge form, there's still time to donate. Remember, the campaign runs through December the 21st. Then the city's wellness program is recognized by the American Heart Association. The City of Columbus Wellness Program was recognized as a gold-level recipient of the American Heart Association's Fit-Friendly work sites. We were the largest government agency in Central Ohio recognized. The recognition was for offering employee opportunities to get active, promoting healthy nutrition, and promoting a culture of wellness. This program is a catalyst for positive change within the city as work sites continue to stress the importance of health and wellness of our employees. Thank you. That is all that I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Craig. Councilmember Klein.
Thank you, President Ginther. I do have one resolution this evening, 234X 2012, to recognize the 200 Columbus milestone businesses in the city of Columbus in honor of the bicentennial. I'd like to welcome Michael Dobby and his guests to come forward, and as they're coming forward, just like to recognize the fact that there's more than 350 milestone businesses in Columbus that have been operating for more than 25 years, and we're fortunate enough to have two of them represented tonight, so the floor is yours, Mr. Dobby.
Thank you. Appreciate that, President Ginther and members of the Columbus City Council. Thank you for taking the time to recognize some of our community's longest-standing businesses and for all the work that you do individually to make Columbus a great place to do business. The Columbus Chamber is proud to be a partner of the city. We have served as an economic catalyst and as an advocate for Columbus since 1884, when our organization began as the Columbus Board of Trade. In its bicentennial year, we felt strongly that it was important to acknowledge one of the Columbus region's greatest assets, its ability to retain and grow strong businesses. So in honor of the city's bicentennial, the Columbus Chamber and 200 Columbus recognized milestone businesses. Now, these businesses are local businesses that have been in operation for 25 years or more. And as Councilmember Klein said, more than 350 businesses registered for the program. They received a 200 Columbus milestone business decal. You've probably seen some of those around the community. And as milestone businesses are highlighted on our website, so if you want to know which one of those 350 are, you can look them all up on the website. It's an incredible list, rich in the history of the region and a testament to what you and your predecessors have done in keeping the Columbus economy strong. We look forward to celebrating even more milestone businesses and moving forward. So among the milestone businesses are two who are with us here today. State Auto Insurance Company, Bob Restrepo, who's Chairman, President, and CEO, along with Elise Spriggs, who's Director of Government Relations. And what I think we were talking about this, I believe it's the longest family-owned business in the Columbus area here, Schottinger Funeral Home and Cremation Services. Michael Schettinger is president. I think he's got his dad, David, and Randy and Kevin here as well. And I think they have been in business for 157 years, so a great testament to their longevity. So I will step aside and give them some time to speak. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for the recognition, both with the Chamber and with the City Council. State Auto was founded here in Columbus to serve one state, Ohio, and one line of insurance, auto. Since then, and over 90 years ago, we celebrated our 90th anniversary last year. We've grown from that one state and that one line. We now operate in all 50 states, plus the district. Wrote $1.8 billion last year in premiums, which makes us the second largest insurance company in town by very good measure. But we continue to grow. We have over 800 employees here in the Central Ohio area, over 650 of which are here in the city of Columbus, both in our headquarters, where we've been since 1930, out on East Broad Street, and we just moved into 175 overlooking the Columbus Commons. We've got over 200 people located there, and it's the people that really characterizes our business model. One of the reasons that we find Columbus such a terrific home is it really has the quality of people, the intelligence, and most importantly, the culture that creates people with behaviors and values that really give us a competitive edge in the marketplace. And also, I've traveled around the country. Columbus is one of the most collaborative and consequently competitive business environments in the country, and we thank you all for helping it make it that way. Appreciate the recognition.
My name is Mike Schettinger. We wanted to also thank City Council, the City of Columbus, and the Chamber for recognizing us. I'm joined tonight by my dad, who represents the 5th generation in our family, and then myself, my brother Kevin, and my cousin Randy are the 6th generation. So we think we're the only family business that has 6 generations. My great-great-great-grandpa came to Columbus from Germany back in the 1800s and opened up Schettinger Undertaking business on South High, kind of where the Lazarus building used to be. And today we have 200 associates and 15 funeral homes throughout Central Ohio, many in the city of Columbus, and are proud to continue to honor people on one of the worst days of their life and help them create a healing experience for their loved one. So we just want to say thank you from our family.
Thank you so much to the Schettinger family and to State Auto for the work that you do in being one of those beacon businesses that have been in Columbus through thick and thin, and we look forward to 157 more years and many more years for State Auto as well. Any questions or comments? I do have 2 resolutions to give to both businesses to take back to share with their employees and staff. I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you, Councilmember Klein. President Pro Tem Miller? Councilmember Mills? Councilmember Paley? Councilmember Tyson?
Yes. This evening I have one resolution and then a presentation. I'm going to ask for John Tolbert to move to the podium, and certainly bring your wife can come, and also members of the health department are more than welcome, and his friends to stand behind him. So anyone here who's all supporting John, please come to the podium. It's Resolution 0233X-2012 to honor and to recognize and express our appreciation for John Tolbert on the occasion of his retirement from Columbus Public Health. Whereas John Tolbert shared his leadership, expertise, and compassion with our community through his distinguished 14-year career with Columbus Public Health. And whereas throughout his career, John worked tirelessly to link underserved residents with access to health care and community resources. And he established the first health equity and chronic disease prevention sections in the Division of Neighborhood Health at Columbus Public Health. And whereas John served as Columbus Public Health's ex officio member of the Columbus Neighborhood Health Center Board of Trustees. And whereas he established the City of Columbus Employees Assistance Program, which has helped city employees achieve health and success at work and in their personal lives. And whereas John mentored many staff members at Columbus Public Health and formed partnerships with community and neighborhood agencies, leaders, groups, and businesses to improve the health of our residents. Whereas John Tolbert dedicated his life and career to promoting public health and improving lives. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby honor and recognize and express our appreciation for John Tolbert on the occasion of his retirement from Columbus Public Health. I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. I have had the distinct pleasure of knowing John for more than his years at Columbus Public Health. I probably have known John for probably at least 35 years or more. And during that entire time, John has always cared deeply for this community. He was not born and raised here, but Columbus is his home, and it's demonstrated by the works that he has done in our community. And so it's with pleasure that we give you this resolution, but certainly we are going to miss you at Columbus Public Health. You have done so much to improve the lives of our community. And I just want to say thank you. I wish you great retirement, but thank you so much for all that you've done for our community. So I'll let you have an opportunity to speak now.
President Ginther, members of council, Councilwoman Tyson. I learned a long time ago that when you're overwhelmed when someone gives you something, the easiest thing to do is just say thank you. But I can't do that here. These last few days, I have been humbled more than once, and this is another time that I'm being humbled by your gracious appreciation of my work, which I just consider something that I'm supposed to do as a public servant. And I would be remiss if I said that all of this was done by myself. I cannot say that. I've worked with many of you over the years, past city council members, members of the cabinet, the mayor, both past and present, and without the indirect and direct assistance and support of each of you, I could not have done what I've done, as you have mentioned tonight. More importantly, the last 10, 14 years with Columbus Public Health has been one of the most enjoyable times in city government for me, primarily because of the people I work with. And without a doubt, I think it's the best department in the city, primarily because of the work we do to help so many people who are unfortunate in their health and their access to health care. So again, I want to say thank you, thank all the folks that I've worked with at Columbus Public Health in the community, my friends from the Ohio Department of Health, the Commission on Minority Health. I could go on and on, but I only have 3 minutes. But I just want to say this. All right. But let me just say this. 2 quick things. One, I have learned a lot over the years. And one of the things that I have learned is that simply the way that you learn how to do your job better is you listen to the people that you serve. And the residents of Columbus and all the neighborhoods that I've worked in have taught me so much on how to better serve them and how to bring to you the issues that they're concerned with so that you can resolve them or help them resolve them. So I would say to members of council and the cabinet and all the folks that work for the city, just remember that you work for the citizens of Columbus. That's why they call us public servants. If that's been my goal, that's been my way of getting things done, it works. So trust me, if that's what you stay focused on, it'll continue to work for you. And lastly, I'd like to have all of us in their moments of quiet and time in their minds to say prayers for those in Connecticut for their loss. With that said, I greatly appreciate you recognizing me. I think I got one more coming. I'll just be glad when it's all over. And last but not least, the support of my wife has been overwhelming through the years in making sure that I always do the right thing and continue to treat people the way that we like to be treated ourselves. Thank you. God bless you. And thank all of you who are here tonight. I appreciate it greatly.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. I appreciate you offering this resolution. On behalf of John, I have known John like you nearly probably 4 decades. That's when we both had hair. And I want to tell you how much we appreciate you. One of the great joys in this position is to honor our city employees, who in many respects are so magnificent. Their work is well beyond the hours that they commit here to our city, and they are numerous. But it's the other things that they do as well in their communities, in their faith communities, around with their families. And John, you have contributed so much to this community. You know, the 14 years or so that you've been with the city is certainly outstanding, and it's based upon the premise of excellence. But it's all the other things that you have done and continue to do in this community to make it better for our family and our children. And so we wish you continued success in your retirement, because we know that you won't retire. Right. I know your wife too well.
She won't let me go.
You have work to do, but we do honor you for your service and all that are standing. That's a testament to your work and all of those that are standing with you to congratulate you on your work on behalf of the citizens of Columbus. God bless you and Godspeed.
Thank you, Councilman Craig.
Thanks again, John, and certainly recognize that the leadership of public health is standing behind John, as well as some community leaders that are here, the director of minority health, and so just a demonstration of how people care about you, that you've worked with and within our community. And again, thanks so much for everything you do for our residents.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Now we will have just a brief presentation. I'm going to ask for Calvin Cooper to come to the podium. Calvin Cooper is the Director of Marketing and Government Relations and Outreach for the South Central Ohio Minority Supplier Development Council, and they just celebrated their 40th anniversary. And I want him to have an opportunity to share what they do in our community, because it's integral to helping us continue to help minority and small businesses to grow and develop. And so I'm going to now ask Mr. Cooper to make his presentation, and congratulations on your 40th anniversary.
Thank you, Councilwoman Tyson, Council President Ginther, the entire City Council, and the community members here today. It truly is a pleasure, a privilege, and an honor to stand before you. This year marks our 40th anniversary year. My name is Calvin Cooper, and I'm the Director of Marketing, Government Relations, and Outreach for the South Central Ohio Minority Supplier Development Council. I am here on behalf of Darrell A. Peel, our Council President, who could not be here as he is traveling to Cincinnati on business. He extends his appreciation, and thank you to Councilmember Tyson for welcoming us here. Since 1972, SCM-SCC has connected corporate America to minority business enterprises in 50 of the 88 counties in the state of Ohio. We are headquartered in downtown Columbus at the Chase Building, and we have offices in Dayton and Cincinnati. We are one of 36 independent regional councils affiliated with the National Minority Supplier Development Council. We certify minority-owned businesses of all sizes and in all industries. We have over 150 corporate members, including but not limited to Honda, Nationwide, Huntington National Bank, Cardinal Health, Limited Brands, Turner Construction, Worthington Industries, Johnson Controls, Procter & Gamble, the Kroger Company, Cintas, and Toyota, just to name a few. Our corporate members look to us to certify and locate minority businesses who can provide them with innovation, cost savings, and solutions to help them meet their demanding supply chain needs and MBE utilization goals. We have over 500 minority-owned businesses certified by the Council, representing a diversity of ethnic backgrounds, including African American, Asian Indian, Hispanic, Asian Pacific, Native American, and women of color. These businesses service a wide range of industries from construction, manufacturing, retail, professional services, and these MBEs range in size from less than $1 million in revenue to $1 billion in revenue per year. Supplier diversity isn't a benevolence program for our corporate members. It is a business imperative. This year, we conducted an economic research report, and as a result of supplier diversity efforts in our region, corporate members spent over $5.17 billion with a B with minority-owned businesses in Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati alone. I think that deserves a round of applause. Additionally, minority-owned businesses certified by our council provided over 14,000 jobs for people who live in our communities. Nationally, there are 16 billion-dollar roundtable members, and these corporations each spend over $1 billion with minority-owned businesses across this country. 5 of those corporations sit on our board of directors: Honda, Toyota, Kroger, Johnson Controls, and Procter & Gamble. If you would like more information on our organization, or you have a minority-owned business that you would like to get connected to our corporate members, please visit our website at www.scomsdc.org. I encourage you to also download our 2012 Connections magazine and annual report, where you will find success stories on some of our most notable MBEs and the corporate members who drive supplier diversity in our region. Thank you for your time, and have a great evening.
Calvin, thank you for coming down. I'm excited that you just celebrated your 40th anniversary, but most importantly, the work that you've been doing in our communities, that linking minority-owned businesses with other businesses within our community, that you named many of them, for them to be able to grow their businesses and be able to employ, especially individuals from our city. So thank you for your work, and hopefully people will contact you to be able to have those linkages and to continue to grow their business. And I know that you gave the website out, the website information, www.scomsdc.org. Thank you so very much, and congratulations on your 40th anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Are there any comments by our elected officials, City Auditor, City Attorney, Judiciary, Judge Barrows? At this time, I request that the following ordinance be removed from the consent action portion of the agenda. The Development Committee Ordinance 2804-2012. Are there any other requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution from the consent action portion of the agenda? If not, may we now have a motion to waive reading of the titles of 30-day legislation by the city clerk?
So moved.
Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
Finance Committee Ordinance 2400-2012, Health and Human Services Committee Ordinance 2795-2012, Development Committee Ordinance 2814-2012, Public Utilities Committee Ordinances 1705, 2537, 2619, 2628, 2640, 2641, 2660, 2661, 2665, 2685, 2693, 2711, 2766-2012, Rules and Reference Committee, Ordinance 2714-2012.
The following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read the ordinance numbers of each into the record?
Resolution of Expression 229X-2012, Finance Committee, Ordinances 2686, 2698, 2737, 2756, 2773, 2807, 2818-2012. Development Committee, Ordinances 2702, 2781, 2782, 2806, 2810, 2817, 2820, 2821, 2822, 2823, 2825, 2832, and 2855-2012. Recreation and Parks Committee, Ordinances 2728 and 2798-2012. Technology Committee, Ordinance 2594, 2595, 2616-2012. Public Safety and Judiciary Committee, Ordinances 2559, 2647, 2730, 2745, 2765, 2799, 2815, 2836, and 2837-2012. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Ordinances 2532, 2646, 2658, 2667, 2671, 2675, 2725, 2748, 2752, 2754, 2768, 2786, 2788, 2790-2012. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 2387, 2620, 2651, 2687, 2738, 2751, 2755, 2780-2012, and appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0204, 205, 206, 207, 208, 209, 210, 211, 212, 213, 215, 216, 217, 218, 219, 220, 221, 222, 223, 224, 225, 226, and 227-2012.
Thank you. We do have two speakers regarding the consent agenda this evening. Our first speaker is Shannon Cross. Shannon Cross. She was signed up to speak, I think, regarding her appointment to the Linden Area Commission. Let the record reflect that Ms. Cross was not present when her name was called. Our next and final consent agenda speaker this evening is Mr. Nathaniel Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, if you'd come forward to the podium, share your name, address, any organizations you represent. You've signed up to speak, I believe, in support of 2810-2012. Mr. Wilkins, you have 3 minutes.
I'm not going to take up any more of your time. 1612 Arlington Avenue, Nate Wilkins. I'm speaking in favor of, I've got several questions. You talk about neighborhood NSP. I would like to know which neighborhoods those are and why the cost is so low. First of all, we talk about this neighborhood with NSP2. There's 3 questions I want to ask you. Is that for stabilizing the neighborhood or some type of entities? Still, again, it's not enough money when you talk about neighborhoods. It's unsettling that we talk and talk. It's so unfortunate. We had a fire the last couple of days on Myrtle Avenue. And when I look at this, when you talk about neighborhoods, my questions are, is that this stabilizing the neighborhood, the house, or the values of stock? It's just unfortunately. I'm going to start right there.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Wilkins? Chairman Klein, I don't know if you have any comments. Director Safford, any additional comments you can add to 2810-2012, sir?
Thank you, President Ginther and other members of council. The consent legislation before you is just a reallocation of NSP funds so we can get them out in a deadline assigned to us by the federal government. We've had lengthy discussions with the council and everybody with presentation on what neighborhood stabilization funds are. They're coming close to the end for neighborhood stabilization program 1 and 2, and so we make sure that we spend all the money. We had some fortunate things to occur that we could reallocate the money to get out into the neighborhoods, and this legislation is doing that. For the past couple months, this body has approved legislation similar to that to expend money. We've been more than happy to meet with Mr. Wilkins to give him a full disclosure of what NSP is and how we are using the funds to impact well-deserving neighborhoods.
Thank you, Director. Any questions or comments from council members? I'd entertain a motion for approval of these items designated as consent actions. Clerk, call the roll by voice.
Craig.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes, with the exception of 2788, 2790-2012, on which I'm abstaining.
Miller. Mills.
Yes, with the exception of 2745-2012, on which I am abstaining.
Paley. Tyson.
Yes, with the exception of 2806-2012, which I'm abstaining.
President Ginther.
Yes, consent agenda carries. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day tabled and emergency legislation. The first committee is the Finance Committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs that committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The first ordinance I have is 2718-2012 to authorize and direct the Finance and Management Director to issue purchase orders with Central Ohio Farmers Co-op Beams BP Distribution, Voyager Fleet Systems, and MPC Investments LLC Superfleet for the provision of automobile fuel to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes 1959 with respect to the purchase of fuel from Beams BP's Distribution, to authorize the Finance and Management Director to issue purchase orders with Genuine Auto Parts /NAPA per the terms and conditions of a universal term contract, to authorize the Finance and Management Director to issue purchase orders with various fleet management vendors for emergency parts, to authorize expenditure of $1,007,713. This ordinance waives the competitive bidding process of the Columbus City Codes in order to allow the continued use of the Franklin County's contract with Beams BP Distribution. This will allow uninterrupted lead fuel at the lowest possible price. Accordingly, the competitive bidding provisions of city codes must be waived in order to participate in the Franklin County Commissioner's contract. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig, Klein, Miller, Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 2736-2012 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to enter into a contract on behalf of the Office of Construction with Meyer Demolition and Salvage for demolition of the former South Side Settlement House at 310 Ennis Avenue and for a warehouse building at 2077 Parkwood Avenue, to authorize expenditure of $420,099 from the Construction Management Capital Improvement Fund and to declare an emergency. There's been a lot of discussion regarding the South Side in terms of the demolition of the South Side Settlement House, which this is, and then moving to Reeb Elementary School. There's been a lot of outreach, and I know through the Department of Finance, and so we are now ready to demolish this facility and begin to move to the next facility. And the decorative ornamental stairway, known as the Intro Center, located within the courtyard, will be removed and safely stored elsewhere while its final disposition and placement is decided. And the Columbus Arts Commission was consulted as well and has approved its removal, knowing that the ultimate permanent placement will be determined at a later time. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig, Klein, Miller, Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Thank you. I would now like to move to ordinance number 2776-2012 to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to execute those documents necessary to purchase that real property known as 1355 McKinley Avenue to support various city operations, to authorize the expenditure not to exceed $880,000 from the 2012 Construction Management Capital Improvement Fund and to declare an emergency. This property is central to our operations. It's in a downtown area that will maximize operational efficiency and eliminate potential service delays for street maintenance and snow removal. In addition, the replacement site will be an adequate size to accommodate those identified operational uses and allow for growth. And also, it will give us the opportunity to work with, hopefully with CODA, as it has its new CNG operation. And I will call for a voice vote.
Second.
Craig?
Yes.
Klein?
No.
Miller? Yes. Mills?
Yes.
Paley?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
President Ginther.
Thank you. I would now like to move back to page 2 and look at ordinance number 2400. It's ordinance 2400-2012 to amend the 2012 capital improvement budget to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds between projects within the Division of Refuge Collection, Geo Bonds Fund, and the Fleet Management Capital Fund, to authorize the Director of Department of Finance and Management to modify a construction reimbursement agreement with the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, SWACO, for the construction of the Morris Road Eco Center, to authorize expenditure of up to $347,097 from the Division of Refuge Collections Yield Bonds Fund and to establish a $75,000 auditor's certificate for facility uplifting for the Fleet Management and the Fleet Management Capital Fund. A modification of the construction reimbursement agreement is necessary so as to increase the contract amount from $9 million to $9,234,097. This modification includes, but is not limited to, shop drawings, requests for information, and submittal review during construction, lead certification, and periodic site visits during construction to check for compliance with the design plans and specifications incurred by the architectural and engineering firm retained by SWACO. If there are no questions or comments, I first move to waive second reading.
Second.
Craig.
Yes.
Klein. Miller. Mills.
Yes.
Paley. Tyson.
Yes.
President Ginther.
I move for passage and call for a voice vote.
Second.
Craig. Klein. Miller. Mills.
Yes.
Paley.
Yes.
Tyson.
Yes.
President Ginther.
Thank you. May I proceed to health? We can do it first. Okay, we'll do workforce development first. It's 2828-2012, and it is to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a contract with the Central Ohio Workforce Investment Corporation, COWIC, to support work readiness, job preparedness programs, and services, to authorize the appropriation of $40,000 in the Job Growth Fund, to authorize the transfer of $40,000 from the Job Growth Fund to the General Fund, and to authorize the appropriation of $50,000 from the General Fund to the Department of Development, to authorize expenditure of $90,000 from the General Fund and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the Department of Development to enter into this contract with Central Ohio Workforce Investment. And we're going to really focus on work readiness and job preparedness, because every employer today requires candidates to be prepared and ready to go to work. And job seekers need to understand employers' expectations. Pre-employment screenings, including but not limited to background checks, are components of the pre-employment process. This will serve as an incentive for the employers to consider their referred candidates. If there are no questions or comments, I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Craig.
By voice.
Yes.
Klein. Miller. Mills.
Abstain.
Paley.
Yes.
Tyson.
Yes.
President Ginther.
And now I move for passage and call for a voice vote.
Second.
Craig.
Yes.
Klein. Miller. Mills.
Abstain.
Paley. Tyson.
Yes.
President Ginther.
Thank you. Now may I move to health? Yes. All right. Ordinance number 2795-2012 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to enter into a contract for the option to purchase National Restaurant Association Safe Serve education materials on or as needed basis with the National Restaurant Association Solutions, to authorize expenditure of $1 to establish a contract from the Mail Print Services UTC Fund. The materials are to be used by Columbus Public Health for public education, training, and testing on proper food processing, handling, and preparation by local food businesses. These materials are used by Columbus Public Health to provide a food service manager's food safety certification course called Safe Serve, and this started in 1998. If there are no questions or comments, I move to waive second reading.
Second.
Craig. Klein. Miller. Mills. Paley. Tyson. President Ginther.
Thank you, and I move for passage.
Craig. Klein. Miller. Mills. Paley. Tyson. President Ginther.
Thank you. I have one announcement. On tomorrow, December the 18th at 5 p.m., Columbus City Council will host a public hearing on the mayor's proposed 2013 general fund budget. This hearing will be televised on CTV and is an opportunity for Columbus residents to share their thoughts on the budget proposal with City Council. Community members who wish to address council at the hearing are welcome to submit a speaker slip at City Hall on Tuesday, the 18th. The regular council rules for speaking before council will apply. If you have any questions regarding this hearing tomorrow, please contact my office at 645-2933. And thank you very much. That's all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Our next committee is the Administration Committee. Councilmember Craig chairs that committee. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. Tonight in the Administration Committee, I have ordinance 2704-2012 to accept the Memorandum of Understanding number 2012-02 executed between representatives of the City of Columbus and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, otherwise known as ASME, Ohio Council 8, Local 1632, which amends the collective bargaining contract April the 1st, 2011 through March the 31st, 2014, and to declare an emergency. Section 32.3 of the collective bargaining contract with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, or ASME, Ohio Council 8, Local 1632, requires that any modifications to the contract be agreed between the parties. Memorandum of Understanding number 2012-02 has been executed by the parties to amend Appendix A classification listing, to assign a pay grade to the new classification of therapeutic recreation specialists, and also increase the minimum hourly rates for the following class titles: education program instructor and recreation instructor to comply with state minimum wage law. Finally, the MOU amends Section 27.5 of the contract to correct the date by which the employee insurance contribution is increased to 10%. The passage of this ordinance indicates City Council's acceptance of the Memorandum of Understanding number 2012-02. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Ordinance 2716-2012 to amend the Management Compensation Plan, ordinance number 1150-2007, as amended by enacting Section 5E-P283, the classification of power division administrator, by amending Section 5E-P286, the classification of power and water division administrator, and by amending Section 5E-W010, the classification of water assistant administrator, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance amends the Management Compensation Plan by acknowledging Civil Service Commission action in accordance with the separation of the Division of Power and Water, and assigning pay grades to the classification of Power Division Administrator by amending Section 5E-P286, the classification of Water and Power Division Administrator, and by amending Section 5E-W010, the classification of Water Assistant Administrator. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And then finally, Ordinance 2012 to establish a new authorized strength ordinance for the Department of Public Utilities to accommodate the separation of divisions of power and water into two separate divisions, to repeal Ordinance 0507-2012, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
I think that is all that I have.
Thank you. Our next committee is the Development Committee. Councilmember Klein chairs that committee. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. At the outset, I'd like to take the chairman's privilege to recognize Shannon Cross. I think she may have came in late, but as a newly appointed member of the Linden Area Commission, would like to recognize her and give her the opportunity to come and say some very brief words about her excitement and what she wants to do in the Linden area. Shannon?
Thank you, Council President Ginther and Councilmember Klein, for the opportunity to speak. Despite my tardiness, I appreciate that opportunity. Very briefly, I just wanted to thank the Council for the affirmative vote on my appointment to the North Linden Area Commission. I would also like to, for the public record, thank my neighbors in North Linden for their initial endorsement of me in this role, and also recognize the current members of the North Linden Area Commission for their service to our area and our city. I am honored to be afforded this opportunity to work on behalf of my friends and fellow community members of North Linden, and look forward to working with the members of City Council as well. Thank you, and thank you again for the time.
Thank you, Shannon, and best of luck, and look forward to working with you in the Linden area. The first piece of legislation is 2386-2012 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a contract with Columbus 2020 for economic development activities associated with business relocation, expansion, and retention, as well as other activities related to the city's continued interest in workforce development, marketing, and entrepreneurship, to authorize the expenditure of $700,000 from the general fund and to declare an emergency. This is our annual appropriation to Columbus 2020. We did have a speaker from 2020 lined up, but due to an illness, he is not able to make it. But you can see from the legislation that we have coming down the pike, for example, the IBM legislation later on this evening, the 500 jobs, that's the fruit of 2020's labor, the fruit of the Department of Development's labor. So there's good work that 2020 is doing, and it's an aggressive jobs plan that's growing the city tremendously, especially compared to our peers here in the Midwest and even in the United States. I move for passage, seeing no questions or comments.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2662-2012 to authorize the Director of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Behringer Ingelheim Roxanne, Inc., Roxanne Labs, for a tax abatement of 100% for a period of 10 years on real property improvements in consideration of a proposed investment of $18 million for a building addition, retention of 1,008 jobs, and the creation of 240 new permanent full-time jobs. I'd like to welcome to the podium Bob Berg. Mr. Berg? He's with the company and like to give you the opportunity to talk about some of the expansion and the work that Roxanne's doing. Thank you for being a good community partner, and this is terrific news about the creation of 240 jobs and the retention of over 1,000.
Great, thanks for having me, President Ginther, Congressman Klein. Great opportunity. This is Behringer. We're kind of a global, worldwide pharmaceutical company, and winning this expansion for Ohio is very important. We compete within our own network with Behringer. We've got 20-plus manufacturing facilities around the world, so we're competing within ourselves. We're also competing in a global economy. So, growing our business is strong. We're growing in Columbus, and we hope to continue to do so. This is a great expansion for the site, and right now we're even growing. We're in 24/7 mode right now, so we're trying to keep up with the demand and looking for this project to move forward very quickly and to help alleviate a large capacity constraint in the business right now. So it's great news, and these incentives do help. We're in a competitive environment. Anything and anything we can put on the table will help us make our project more attractive for not only for this site but for the corporation in general. So great, thank you.
Thank you for coming down, Mr. Berg. Any questions or comments for Mr. Berg? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I move for passage.
Second.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
The next two pieces of legislation are tied together. There's a job growth incentive as well as a job creation tax agreement. And when you look at this, these two pieces in addition to the Roxanne Labs piece, it's just some quick math. Essentially, the creation of 740 new full-time jobs and the retention of approximately 1,679 jobs. So that's really terrific work wonderful news for the city of Columbus as we move the ball down the field in our aggressive economic development posture and stance that we take in aggressively courting and working with companies to ensure that we have opportunities for the folks that live in the Columbus area and the Columbus region. 2690-2012 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a job creation tax credit agreement of 65% for a period of 6 years with International Business Machines Corporation in consideration of the company's investment of $3.2 million in building improvements, machinery, equipment, furniture, fixtures, and the creation of 500 new permanent full-time positions and the retention of 671 existing positions. Any questions or comments? I move for passage.
Second. Craig, Klein, Miller, Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Next is 2691-2012 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a jobs growth incentive agreement with International Business Machines Corporation equal to 25% of the amount of new income tax withheld on employees for a term of 5 years in consideration of the company's proposed investment of $3.2 million, the creation of 500 new full-time permanent positions, and the retention of 671 full-time permanent existing jobs. I do want to give Director Safford, I know your team worked on this, if you have anything to add to this, terrific news to the city of Columbus. I want to give you the opportunity to say something.
Thank you, Chairman Klein, President Ginther. This is an exciting time for the city of Columbus in creating these jobs. I want to thank my staff, as you mentioned, aggressively going out there and meeting with each and every company that has an interest in locating to Columbus and expanding to Columbus. We take our jobs very seriously to meet the demand and expectations of council and the mayor. So again, I thank you for your affirmation of the legislation this evening.
And I would be remiss not to echo those comments of your staff, in particular Bill Webster, who works hard in the economic development shop, and Shane Farworth, who also works hard there. Any questions or comments? I move for passage.
Second.
Craig, Klein, Miller, Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
2770-2012 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to execute any and all necessary agreements and deeds for conveyance of title of 2 parcels of real property, 3050 East 6th Avenue, held in the land bank pursuant to the Land Reutilization Program, and to declare an emergency. Following Council's activities recently, there's been a lot of movement in land bank, and they have worked hard. John Turner and the land bank staff have worked hard on moving these properties, and the good work that's being done in turning the land back into productive use. But this property, or these parcels, I should say, in particular, are significant to me because of the work that Michael Johnson has done in what he plans to do over on the east side in the Crum Park area. I first met Mr. Johnson with Bill Adams when they came in to talk about this proposed idea, and I think it's just absolutely fitting that it's coming to fruition given Mr. Adams' passing, that here we are talking about turning the property over to you to realize your vision. I want to bring you forward to talk about some of the plans that you have for this property. Please come forward and share with us and share with those watching on TV your vision of these 2 parcels and what you plan on doing. And please introduce your friend.
Thank you for having me. I'm Councilman Klein and President Ginther and everybody else here on City Council. I am brought with me today Ms. Dolores Rodriguez. I'm sorry. Thank you. I brought today with me Ms. Dolores Rodriguez, who is part of our community and very supportive of our project and the development that we're trying to do in our area. So this is what I brought with me today. Mr. Adams was a very instrumental part on what we're trying to do in our community, and he taught me a lot. He was my mentor and he was my guide, along with a lot of other folks in our community. And to that end, we had this vision. When I first met President Ginther almost 2.5 years ago, we tore down together with other community leaders a building, a structure that was used for drugs, activity, and prostitution, things of that nature. From that time to this very day, I committed myself and worked with folks in the community to get rid of that type of activity. We have our strong relationship with the Columbus Police Department, Station 20 Fire Department, and other community leaders to build this area up. And the culmination of that is what we want to construct, which is a community health care center to address the needs of our senior citizens and for our very young people. And I think we're going to do that. We're really excited about it. And with the parcels that you've just described, they will are scheduled to be brought down and demolished here within the next couple of weeks. As I speak to the homeowners that live along East 6th Avenue, and most of them are afraid to almost come out of their houses. When they see those two buildings go down, they've been prepped, they've been abated and whatnot. I see smiles on faces. I see people energized about their community again, and it makes me excited. When we get the structure up, we're going to work hand in hand, continue to work hand in hand with the city and with other community leaders to be a model and be a guide for not only our young people, but for the city, because we really firmly believe that that's how you make things happen. That's how you take back our communities and make things positive. So again, thank you for all of your help. I will be back. I will be sharing stories with you as I see you all out and about in the community, and you all are an inspiration for me. On a personal note, I'd like to thank you for all the support, the outpouring support from Mr. Adams that has come our way, that has come to me personally. Mr. Pfeiffer, I saw your website and the tribute that you made to Mr. Adams, and it meant a lot. Mr. Adams thought very highly of you, as well as everyone on City Council and Mr. Ginther. And I'm determined to move forward with his dream. So thank you so very much today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
I think Mr. Adams' shoes are going to be difficult to fill, but you're going to be do a darn good job in doing it and filling them. Absolutely. And I look forward to seeing the fruits of your labor and the fruits of Mr. Adams' labor in the revitalization of these parcels. Thank you. I move for passage.
Second.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2775-2012 to authorize the appropriation of $750,000 from the SIT fund to the city auditor, to authorize the city auditor to transfer said funds from the SIT fund to the West Side Community Fund, to appropriate said funds within the West Side Community Fund, and to declare an emergency. This is the city's payment, part of the city's payment into the West Side Community Fund as a result of the agreement reached with the casino on the west side that will be used for so many things: job development, workforce development, job creation. That's really going to help, with the assistance of the casino, really be a catalyst for growth on the west side. Any questions or comments? I move for passage.
Second.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And if we may go back to page 7 of the agenda. 2804-2012, I request to table it indefinitely.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
I do have one piece of legislation in Recreation and Parks, if I may proceed, President Ginther. 2753-2012 to authorize the city auditor to transfer $1,357,700 within the voted Recreation and Parks Bond Fund 702 to amend the 2012 Capital Improvements Budget Ordinance 0368-2012 to authorize and direct the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into a contract with R.W. Setterland Building Company for the Blackburn and Indian Mound Park Spray Grounds 2012 project, to authorize the expenditure of $1,468,100 from the voted Recreation and Parks Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. Director McKnight, if you could shed some light on where spray ground currently exists and maybe why these two particular recreation areas were chosen for additional playgrounds for the community. Spray grounds for the community.
President Ginther, Chairman Klein, members of council, we're excited about this project. We have one spray ground built specifically for that purpose right now. If you include the side of mile, we have two. But Barnett Recreation Center on the Near East Side, we built about 5 years ago, and it has proven to be extremely popular. So we've been looking at the opportunity to build several more of these. The Blackburn spray ground will be built on the former site of the Blackburn pool. It was a small pool and was never very well attended. We believe this facility, because it's so popular, the type of apparatus we have there is so popular that we'll draw many more children there. The other site we look at right now is Indian Mound, and we looked Indian Mound because it's fairly far south. It's an area that's grown down there, and we believe the need for this type of facility is strong and will get a lot of use. We try to build these where we built them all so far with recreation centers. If you look at our capital budget over the next 4 or 5 years, we do have the opportunity to build several more, and we'll be looking probably west and north locations to continue to expand these facilities.
Well, this council has been friendly to aquatics in general, and I think these two spray grounds are going to be terrific additions to the community. Any questions or comments? I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Klein. Our next committee is the Technology Committee. President Pro Tem Miller chairs that committee. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. Tonight in the Technology Committee, we have 3 items. The first one is 26/17/2012 to authorize the Director of Department of Technology to modify an agreement with technology site planners to increase funds and extend the term period for construction and administration and commissioning services in support of the City Hall uninterrupted power supply replacement project. To waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $23,110 from the Department of Technology Information Services Division Capital Improvement Fund, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And the next 2 items is related to the Columbus Human Resources Information System, the CRIS project. And these 2 items will help have several departments go into the final implementation phase for the CRIS project and seeking for the go-live date. The first one is 27/33/2012 to authorize the Director of Department of Technology to enter into 3 separate agreements with the following vendors: Cyber Inc., Everest Technology Incorporated, Navigator Management Partners LLC, for the provisions of professional services in support of the Columbus Human Resources Information System project, totaling $494,518 and $200,000 in contingency funds for the project, to authorize a transfer of appropriation and cash between projects in the Information Services Bond Fund, to amend the 2012 capital improvement budget, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code, and to authorize the expenditure of $694,518 from the Department of Technology Information Services Division Capital Improvement Fund, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And last is 27/32/2012 to authorize the transfer of appropriation in cash, $936,827.05 within the Auditor Bond Fund between the departments and projects, to amend the 2012 capital improvement budget, to authorize the Director of Department of Technology to modify a contract with Infor, formerly Lawson Software Americas Incorporated, for the installation and related services associated with the Columbus Human Resources Information System project, and to authorize the expenditure of $873,825 from the Auditor's Capital Improvement Bond Fund for the Department of Technology, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And that is all we have in Technology Committee, President Ginther.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Miller. Our next committee is the Public Safety and Judiciary Committee. Councilmember Mills chairs that committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. Tonight in Public Safety and Judiciary have the following ordinances, beginning with Ordinance 2709-2012. To amend Ordinance Number 0676-2006 as amended, the Police Management Compensation Plan by amending Section 13B, and to declare an emergency. If there are no comments or questions, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, I have ordinance 2710-2012 to amend the Fire Management Compensation Plan, ordinance number 0664-2006, as amended by amending Section 2 and to declare an emergency. If there are no comments or questions, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, I have ordinance 2749-2012 to amend ordinance 2377-2012 passed November 19, 2012, which authorized the establishment of purchase orders with Public Safety Corporation and Pomeroy IT Solutions for an upgrade to the Division of Support Services license section false alarm application to correct an inadvertently referenced vendor and universal term contract of Pomeroy IT Solutions to correct the vendor and universal term contract of Onyx USA LLC and to declare an emergency. If there are no comments or questions, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, I have ordinance 2769-2012 to authorize an amendment to the 2012 capital improvement budget to authorize a transfer of funds within a capital improvement budget to authorize the Director of Public Safety to enter into a contract with Bear Analytics, Inc. for the Division of Police for the purchase of crime analyst software support and training services, to authorize expenditure of $173,100 from the capital improvement funds to waive the provisions of competitive bidding and to declare an emergency. This software is an easy-to-use online dashboard that provides regional and national crime data sharing and analysis for law enforcement and defense only. Users access a secured environment to map, analyze, report, and download data from multiple jurisdictions. The software automatically geocodes and analyzes crime data as it is imported into the system. Other features of the software include web-based public crime mapping capabilities with the ability for citizens to leave anonymous tips. This software works with any records management system to allow law enforcement to share crime data with the public through an easy-to-use online crime map and analytics dashboard. This contract is for 5 years to include support, training, and licenses. Any comments or questions? If not, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And next, I have ordinance 2797-2012 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to issue a purchase order to Reichert Properties for the purchase of 29 police cruisers on behalf of the Division of Police, to authorize a transfer and expenditure of $800,000 within a general fund and to declare an emergency. These vehicles, model 2013 AWD Interceptor Taurus, will replace existing police cruisers that are high mileage, high maintenance, and are scheduled for replacement. These base vehicles shall be ordered by Reichert Automotive. All of the units will require some upfitting, which includes the installation of light bars, cameras, communications infrastructure, etc., all which should be legislated under separate ordinances in 2013. Our wonderful fleet management and support services will work together to upfit the 29 cruisers prior to being placed into service. The purchase of this model vehicle will mark the beginning of planned replacement schedule for the division's current fleet of Crown Victoria Police Interceptors. The Crown Victoria has been the standard Columbus Police unit for the past 10 years. However, Ford has discontinued production of this vehicle in late 2011. The division will continue to move forward in the future with the Interceptor Taurus as it continues to phase out high mileage vehicles. I want to take this time to talk about the replacement also made in Division of Fire, thanks to the support of all of our citizens with our tax increase, so that allowed us for replacement in Division of Fire, which has certainly allowed for less repair slowdown with all of our vehicles. We have the opportunity with this ordinance to move forward with police in a particular for patrol and for our cruiser vehicles particularly. This is extremely important to make sure that our police are equipped with all of the equipment they need, just as we have done with the Division of Fire. These cruisers are outdated and the cost is much more in terms of maintenance, so I am very proud to present and sponsor this ordinance. If there are any other comments or questions, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Mills. Our next committee is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. Councilmember Paley chairs that committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Ginther. And Public Service and Transportation, this evening we have Ordinance 2598, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Service to contract with EMH&T for the design of public infrastructure improvements in connection with the Hayden Run Phase 2 project in the amount of $900,000, and to authorize the appropriation of funds and an expenditure of $900,000 from the Northwest Corridor Pay As We Grow Fund to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code regarding professional services contracts and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, we have Ordinance 2696, 2012, to transfer the control and maintenance responsibilities of the right-of-way identified as the east-west alley of south of Bryden Road between Carpenter and Benton Streets from the Department of Public Service Division of Planning and Operations to the Recreation and Parks Department to facilitate the renovation of Blackburn Park. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, we have Ordinance 2697, 2012, to transfer the control and maintenance responsibilities of the right-of-way identified as a .0882 acre portion of the unnamed north-south alley between Wilson and Linwood Avenues from the Department of Public Service Division of Planning and Operations to the Columbus Recreation and Parks Departments to facilitate the renovation of English Park. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, I have 2724, 2012, to authorize the city auditor to appropriate $450,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Preserve TIF Fund, and to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into a professional services contract with EMH&T for design of public infrastructure improvements in connection with the Morse Road widening project in the amount of $450,000, and to authorize the expenditure of $450,000 from the Preserve Incentive TIF Fund to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code regarding professional services contracts and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, we have Ordinance 2734, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with Dan Burt Incorporated and to provide for the payment of the contract and construction administration and inspection services in connection with the NCR Lincoln Theater Phase 2 project, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,455,802.38 from the Streets and Highway Geo Bonds Fund for the Division of Design and Construction, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance represents the NCR Lincoln Theater Phase 2 project. This legislation will allow the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with Dan Burt Incorporated to provide for the payment of construction administration. This project will improve pedestrian safety on each long street between Hamilton Avenue and Garfield Avenue, adding to previous improvements made around the Lincoln Theater. This project will include 1/4 mile of new sidewalks that will range from 5 feet wide to 9.5 feet wide along parts of Garfield Avenue. The project will also include flashing yellow beacons at the intersection of Long and Garfield right next to the theater. Pedestrians will be able to press the button to turn on the flashing beacon before crossing, thus ensuring pedestrian safety at this crosswalk. The project also includes ADA ramps, and this will make the area safer and more accessible for individuals in wheelchairs and for the vision impaired. In addition to creating safer areas for pedestrians, this project will also improve the aesthetics around the theater. Above ground utility wires on East Long will be moved to underground, and the project also includes the installation of 14 ornamental streetlights along Garfield Avenue, north of Long, and 7 south of Long. Would like to thank Public Service Director Mark Kelsey and Department of Development Director Boyce Safford and their staffs for their leadership on this project. This is another perfect example of coordination between intergovernmental agencies in order to be efficient and effective. I would also like to thank Director Davies and his team for their leadership on this project. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage. This is a great thing. It does clean up the area that we spent a great deal of money on, that theater, and the roads and the electricity need to be fixed.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And finally, in Public Service and Transportation, we have Ordinance 2774, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Service to expend $662,050 or so much thereof as may be necessary to reimburse the Street Construction Maintenance and Repair Fund for traffic sign and signal installation, permanent pavement markings, roadway improvement design, and construction expenses, salaries, overhead, overtime, materials, and other direct costs incurred by the fund in connection with the Division of Planning and Operations Capital Improvement Program in 2012. To amend the 2012 CIB and to authorize the transfer and expenditure of monies within the Street and Highway GO Bonds Fund for the Department of Public Service and to declare an emergency. First, a request to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Would you like me to move forward to public utilities?
It's up to you. Do you? I want to give it proper amount of time, and we have got zoning at 6:30. What's your preference?
I think we can get through it relatively quickly.
Madam Chair, the floor is still yours.
In public utilities, we have ordinance 2078, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to establish an encumbrance for a subscription to the AWWA Research Foundation Program in accordance with the sole source provisions of the Columbus City Code, and to authorize the expenditure of $85,000 from the Water Systems Operating Fund. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, we have ordinance 2490, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a general engineering services agreement with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated and HDR Engineering Incorporated for the Division of Power and Water Distribution Group, and to authorize a transfer and expenditure up to $500,000 from the Water Works Enlargement Voted Bonds Fund and the Water Build American Bonds Fund and the Water Super Build American Bonds Fund, and to amend the 2012 capital improvement budget. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, we have ordinance 2585, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a planned modification of the disposal of clean fill contract with Shelley Materials Incorporated for the Division of Power and Water and Division of Sewage and Drainage, and to authorize the expenditure of $5,000 from the Water System Operating Fund and $25,000 from the Sewer Systems Operating Fund. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
And next, I have ordinance 2605, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to distribute excess inventory of Comtil and other composted products free of charge to city agencies and other municipalities and for promotional agricultural uses based on production and market supply and demand, and to allow Comtil products to be free of charge to resource organizations for the Division of Sewage and Drainage. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, we have ordinance 2757, 2012, to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into an agreement for professional engineering services with Ralph and Curl Engineers for the Laurel Canyon Street lighting improvements for the Division of Power and Water, to authorize the transfer of $46,382.16 within the Electricity GO Bonds Fund, and to amend the 2012 capital improvements budget to authorize the expenditure of $46,382.16 within the Electricity Geo Bonds Fund and to declare an emergency. This is the beginning of some of our street lighting projects. This project is at the request of the residents of Laurel Canyon area. The streets included in this project are Old Trail Drive, Court, Forest View, Farmington, Timber, Rock Hill Reserve, and Whitman. Neighborhoods desiring decorative street poles go through a petition process through the Street Lighting Energy Engineering section of the Department of Public Utilities. The petition must have signatures from 60% of the frontage abutting the improvements, and the residents are then assessed for the difference between the standard wood poles and the decorative poles. With that comment, if there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
I would like to go back to page 4. And we have ordinance 2660, 2012, to authorize the director of, wait, wrong one. Or is it the right one? It's right. To authorize the director of finance and management to enter into a contract with FYDA Freightliner Columbus Incorporated for the purchase of a single-axle conventional CNG dump truck with a snow plow package for the Division of Power and Water, and to authorize the expenditure of $184,957. I would first request to waive second reading.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And then move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Then ordinance 2661, 2012, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into a contract with FYDA Freightliner Columbus Incorporated for the purchase of a tandem axle CNG conventional dump truck with a snowplow package for the Division of Power and Water, and to authorize the expenditure of $569,000 from the Water Operating Fund. I request to waive second reading.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And finally, ordinance 2693, 2012, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to establish a blanket purchase order from a pending universal term contract for the low, medium, and high voltage power cable with the Consolidated Electrical Distributors Incorporated for the Division of Power, and to authorize the expenditure of $105,000 from the Electricity Operating Fund. I first move to request to waive second reading.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
That's all we have in utilities this evening, President Ginther.
Thank you. Before we recess regular meeting number 65 and head to zoning, I know Councilmember Tyson wanted to make a comment. Councilmember?
Thank you, President Ginther. I want to give our condolences to the family of Napoleon Bell, who is our director in community relations. Just want to share, this has just been going on in our community. There have been, we've talked about this, I think, at one of the last meetings, a number of our African American leaders that have passed this year, and Attorney Napoleon Bell is another one of those individuals. He passed yesterday. This is an individual, he went to Mount Union College, graduated from Case Western University, and just a number, we won't be here to probably give the resolution on the council floor, but just to kind of share some things that he did in terms of serving our community. And this is really important because there have been so many African American, especially male leaders from this community that have gone on to have done some amazing work, and just this year so many of them have passed. But he served on the Ohio Constitutional Revision Commission. of 1977, but he was on the Ohio Industrial Commission, vice chair of the Board of Tax Appeals. He was very much involved with the Columbus Area Chamber of Commerce, the Ohio Boy Scouts, the Columbus Urban League, the Columbus Traffic and Transportation Commission. He was state chairman for the United Negro College Fund, chairman of the Concerned Citizens of Columbus, received the Award of Merit from the United Negro College Fund, the Ohio Legal Fund, and that's just to name just a few. And so I just want to give our condolences to his wife, Dorothy, his daughter, Kay, and of course, the director, Napoleon Bell, and just send our condolences to that family. It's a very difficult time during the holidays to lose someone, and certainly want to give our condolences to Attorney Napoleon Bell. Thank you, Chairman Ginther.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson, for those comments. At this point, I'd like to entertain a motion to recess regular meeting number 65. We have rules and reference to return to, as well as after we adjourn, at least one non-agenda speaker. There's a motion.
So moved.
Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Regular meeting number 65 will be recessed, and we will reconvene regular meeting number 66 for zoning in just a few minutes. Regular meeting number 66 will now come to order. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Are there any communications and reports received by the city clerk?
No, there are not.
Any first readings of 30-day legislation?
No, there are not.
We will now go to the zoning committee. President Pro Tem Miller chairs this committee. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ginther. Tonight in the zoning committee, our first item is 1603-2012, in which I would like to table indefinitely.
Second.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next is 2670-2012, to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.039 R4 Residential District, 3309.14A Height District, 3312.13B Driveway, 3312.49 Minimum number of parking spaces required, 3332.15 R4 Area District Requirements, 3332.18D Basis of Commuting Area, 3332.21 Building Lines, 3332.25 Maximum Side Yard Required, 3332.26F Minimum Side Yard Permitted, and 332.27 Rear Yard of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 785 Denison Avenue to permit a 35-unit apartment building with reduced development standards in the R4 residential district. The applicant is Historic Denison Hotel LLC. The proposed use is a 35-unit apartment building. It received a Victorian Village Commission recommendation for approval and also the City Department recommendation for approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2692-2012. Mr. President, I'd like to table indefinitely.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2700-2012 to rezone 590 Van Buren Drive, being 3.5 2 plus or minus acres located on the southeast corner of Van Buren Drive and Mount Calvary Avenue from LM Limited Manufacturing District to ARO Apartment Residential Office District. The applicant is Volunteers of America. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential or office development. It received a Development Commission recommendation for approval, the Franklinton Area Commission recommendation for approval, and finally, the City Department recommendation for approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2701-2012, to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3312.49, minimum number of parking spaces required, 3333.18, building lines, and 3333.26, Height District of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 590 Van Buren Drive to permit 100-unit supportive housing apartment building with reduced development standards in the ARO Apartment Residential Office District. The applicant is Volunteers of America. Proposed use is 100-unit supportive housing apartment building with reduced development standards. It received a Franklinton Area Commission recommendation for approval and also the City Department recommendation for approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2713-2012, to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3356.03, C4 permitted uses of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 3940 Stelter Road to permit gasoline sales in the CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The applicant is Costco. Proposed use is gasoline sales. It received the Northeast Area Commission recommendation for approval and also the City Department recommendation for approval. If there are no questions or comments, I'd like to first request to amend to emergency.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, I would like to move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2742-2012, to rezone 577 West First Avenue, being 10.72 plus or minus acres, surrounding intersections of West First Avenue and Perry Street, from M Manufacturing, C3, C4 Commercial, and CPD Commercial Plan Development Districts, to AR2, AR3 Apartment Residential, and R2F Residential Districts. The applicant is Rural Talo Holdings LTD. The proposed use is a follow-up rezoning to CV0466 to conform the zoning to the existing development. It received a Development Commission recommendation for approval and also the City Department recommendation for approval. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2760-2012, to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.037 R2F Residential District, 3333.025 AR2 Apartment Residential District use, 3333.03 Apartment Residential District use, 3312.21A Landscaping and Screening, 3312.273 Parking Setback Lines, 3312.49 Minimum Number of Parking Spaces Required, 3332.05A4 Area District Lot Width Requirements, 3332.14 R2F Area District Requirements, 3332.18D Basis of Computing Area, 3332.21 Building Lines, 3332.25 Maximum Side Yards Requirements, 3332.26 Minimum Side Yard Permitted, 3332.27 Rear Yard, 332.38C Private Garage, 3333.09 Area Requirements, 3333.14, basis of computing area, 3333.18, building lines, 3333.22, maximum side yard required, 3333.23, minimum side yard permitted, 3333.24, rear yard, 3333.255, perimeter yard, 3333.235, private garage of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 577 West 1st Avenue to conform existing development standards in conjunction with rezoning request Z04-026 to the AR2 and AR3 apartment residential and R2F residential districts with reduced development standards. The applicant is Royal Talo Holdings LTD. Proposed use is to conform existing development conditions in the AR2 and AR3 apartment residential and R2F residential district concurrent with rezoning request Z04-026. And this received the City Department recommendation for approval. If there are no questions or comments, I'd like to first to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Next, I'd like to move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
And next is 2016-2012, which I would like to first to remove from the table.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
2016-2012 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3356.03 C4 permitted uses of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 225 East 11th Avenue to conform a single unit dwelling in the C4 commercial district. The applicant is Charlie Leslie. Proposed use is to conform an existing single unit dwelling. It received the University Area Commission recommendation for approval and also the City Department recommendation for approval. If there are no questions or comments, I'd like to move for passage.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
President Ginther, that is all we have in zoning tonight.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Miller. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
We stand adjourned. We will reconvene regular meeting number 65 momentarily. I'd like a motion to reconvene regular meeting number 65. Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
We are reconvened in regular meeting number 65. Our next committee is the Rules and Reference Committee. I chair the committee. Tonight I have one ordinance, 2813-2012, to modernize city procurement of goods and services through the enactment of new Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Codes and to repeal existing Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Codes. First off, I'd like to offer to amend as submitted to the clerk. Clerk, call the roll.
Craig Klein, Miller Mills, Paley Tyson, President Ginther.
Amended. Thank you. In just a moment, I will defer to Finance Director Paul Rakowski to speak to the amendments and the code change overall. But before I do want to make some very general comments. We'll also open the floor for any questions and comments. And I know that we had one speaker signed up earlier to speak on the ordinance as well. The Mayor's administration and council have, for the better part of the last year, if not longer, been working on the best approach to modernize our contracting code. And to be frank, we weren't always approaching the issue from the same direction. But throughout, our goals remain the same. Number one, to streamline the bidding process, to make it faster, easier, and more accessible. Number two, to focus on uniform, transparent administration of the bidding process. And number three, bring the city's construction bidding process into the 21st century. And after extensive stakeholder discussion and outreach, City Council and the administration have developed an approach to construction contracting that meets and exceeds those goals. This process focuses on pre-qualifying potential bidders and licensed construction trade subcontractors once a year rather than reviewing this information with each bid. This allows us to better focus on three key areas when evaluating bids: responsiveness, project-specific quality factors, and lowest price. This new process will be good for contractors, subcontractors, city bid evaluators, and most importantly, taxpayers. Last week, we held a public hearing as a follow-up to the multiple stakeholder meetings hosted by the administration and council, where we heard from interested parties, took note of suggestions, and incorporated a number of proposed changes in the code before us tonight. And with that, I will turn it over to the Director of Finance and Management, Paul Rakowski, who will briefly walk us through what is being proposed. Director Rakowski.
President Ginther, members of council, President Ginther, I think you did a great job of summarizing the efforts and that have resulted in the code change that's in front of you tonight. I will say that many of the amendments that we're asking for tonight were worked on in conjunction with council staff, with Brian Clark and Susanna Gussler, who is a member of my staff. A lot of those are technical in nature. There are some changes that we're making. As you know, one of those is in regard to how we calculate full-time employees because of the seasonal nature of construction work, but those were the suggestions and concerns that we heard on the outreach that we did. We did outreach with small and minority businesses. We did it with subcontractors and the unions, and we also did it with the larger general contractors. And took all those comments into consideration with the legislation that you have in front of you tonight. I will say that I appreciate the support of council, and I will be asking for your support over the next 6 months as we work on beginning to implement this code. As of that point in time, we'll take everyone's application for them to become certified as responsible under this new code so that they can actually bid on construction projects here at the city. And at that time, we'll be going through all those applications and trying to certify everyone. We may, in that time, run into some issues as we do that, because as I spoke in the public hearing, obviously inclusiveness is what we're searching for here. We want to do the right thing. We want to have all these wonderful contractors who currently do work for the city. We want those individuals to continue to be able to do work. So if we run into some unexpected issues, and as we deal with these types of code changes, we know we'll end up, those are going to come up. We've tried to address the ones that we've heard, but there'll be more that'll come up as we begin to implement this code change, and as such, we'll probably be approaching City Council again for another cleanup ordinance to clean up some of the issues that we might encounter. I know one of the important issues that we heard and we listened very closely to members of council was on outreach for our small and minority businesses, and I think you will see that there is a change in the ordinance that will really, with myself and council working with Director Carter and the Equal Business Opportunity Commission office to do all the outreach that we possibly can do to our small minority and female business community, as well as all of our other vendors that are construction companies that are going to be experiencing change because of this, but especially for those small companies that may not have representation in the form of a lawyer or a lobbyist, as some of our friends do out there. We want to make sure that they understand this completely and that they're comfortable with the changes that we're making. So with that, I ask for your patience. I'm going to be working very, very hard in conjunction with your staff to make this change, the code change, real in the form of a new process that we'll put in place next year, and hopefully by the start of 2014, all of our vendors that will be doing work with the city in regard to construction will be certified vendors through this new process.
Thank you, Director. In addition to, I think, 7 or 8 changes that we documented and went through at the public hearing last week, changes made based on input from stakeholder meetings and outreach during the process. Can you talk a little bit about the work group, the local bidder work group, and their role in reporting back to council in the next couple of months?
President Ginther, members of council, one of the issues that came up in our outreach was just concerns over the fact that we had already suspended the local bidder credit, the credit against price. We had had difficulty and legal issues in regard to that credit. We moved that credit, moved away from the credit and had that as one of the very heavily weighted criteria as a part of being certified as a responsible contractor. In fact, it will be one of the 5 criteria that we're asking that you have at least 3 of those in order to be certified as a responsible contractor. There were still concerns that were brought up about how we properly address and reward and acknowledge a local presence within the community and what that means. And we all know that means jobs, it means income tax, but it also means much more than that in having a presence within the community. So we are going to form a working group. We will make that a very open working group. It'll be with council and the administration and our outside partners to work on some solutions to come up with maybe a change here that works for everybody, that treats everyone fairly, that's balanced, but does insert a little bit more than we currently have in the code in regard to providing a local preference. And we have a very short timeline to do that, so we'll be working very hard, and then we'll bring those suggestions back to council and talk to council about which one of those we might want to implement.
Thank you, Director. Any questions or comments from council members for the Director? Councilmember Tyson.
I don't have any questions for Director Rakowski, but I just want to compliment you, President Ginther, as well as Director Rakowski, Susanna Gussler, and Brian Clark, and the working group, because certainly this has been a concern of late about the local bidder when it comes to the proposals that have come to this council. And so I thank everyone that's been working on this, and I certainly look forward to 2014 when we have the total implementation, and look forward to the continued feedback, and appreciate the outreach to the women, minority, and small businesses, and working with Director Carter on that, and just really thank you for this work. It was definitely needed, and I certainly know that it will allow us to continue to move forward in the proposal process, and so thank you for your work.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Any other questions or comments? And I do want to thank you, Director, as well, Susanna Gussler, Brian Clark of our staff, the Mayor, and the City Attorney. We wouldn't be in this position without your help and support, and we appreciate it. With that, move for passage. Clerk, call the roll.
Craig, Klein, Miller, Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
Passed. Nothing else to come before council this evening. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Clerk, call the roll.
Craig, Klein, Miller, Mills, Paley, Tyson, President Ginther.
I needed to make mention, I skipped over it. Richard Hobbs from the Associated General Contractors had signed up to speak in support of the last piece of legislation that we dealt with, but had to leave because of a conflict. But he was here to testify in support of that, and I overlooked that. I apologize, but I want to thank him for being here and for his work in the working group. We have one non-agenda speaker we'll take momentarily.